Welcome to today's Explainer. We're bringing out the tactical chalkboard to break down a massive controversy surrounding Gianni Infantino and the future of global football. You know, a lot of people thought things would just quiet down after the 2022 World Cup ended. No way. A massive new story has thrust Infantino right back into the spotlight. So today we are tackling two really big questions. What exactly is the story behind FIFA allegedly selling the World Cup? And honestly, is football as we know it completely finished?
Let's just jump straight into the biggest question shaking the absolute foundations of the sport right now. Is the World Cup really for sale? Well, the short answer is, yeah, kinda. But it's happening through a brand new corporate structure.
Which brings us to Section 1, Selling the World Cup.
To really understand how we got here, we need to look at a proposed commercial entity called FIFA Forward Enterprise. The whole idea here is to take all the FIFA's competitions, we're talking the Men's World Cup, the Women's World Cup, the Club World Cup, the youth tournaments, literally the whole shebang, and place them under one single commercial umbrella. Why? To aggressively monetize their unmatched emotional appeal. I mean, think about it. The World Cup represents the ultimate prestige in global sports, right? It carries this incredible cultural and emotional weight, and that makes it an unbelievably powerful business asset. And the foundation of this new deal? An eye-watering $20 billion valuation of all of FIFA's competition assets. Yes, $20 billion with a B. That is the baseline figure they're using to calculate what a piece of this newly formed FIFA Forward Enterprise would actually cost an outside investor.
Let's move on to Section 2, the $4 billion deal.
Okay, so how do you go from a theoretical $20 billion valuation to actual cold hard cash in hand? Well, under this proposed structure, FIFA would retain 80% control of the new entity, while an American investment group takes a 20% slice. And, just as an interesting side note, one of the main investors in this American group is reportedly tied to Donald Trump's business circle. In exchange for that 20% stake, these investors would inject a staggering $4.2 billion into FIFA Forward Enterprise. Just pause and think about that for a second. That is an absolutely enormous amount of upfront capital entering the global football ecosystem, all at exactly the same time.
Naturally, this whole thing has sparked massive outrage, but supporters of the deal, including Gianni Infantino himself, are playing defense. They point out that leagues like Spain's La Liga have already done this exact same thing. La Liga sold a percentage of its commercial rights to the investment fund CVC for billions of euros, arguing that it helped Spanish football survive the COVID-19 pandemic. Infantino's basically asking, hey, why is that totally acceptable, but FIFA doing the same thing is suddenly a crime?
Furthermore, Infantino insists this money will be distributed to smaller national associations. We're talking building infrastructure, creating training centers, and developing youth academies. And, legally, this actually makes sense. FIFA is officially a non-profit organization. It doesn't exist to generate profits for shareholders. So in theory, any surplus is meant to be reinvested right back into developing the global game.
But here's the pivot on our chalkboard. Critics are extremely skeptical. Why? Because investors looking for a return on a $4 billion investment don't just hand over the money without wanting a say in the game plan. Infantino says the investors will only be involved in the commercial side, not the sporting side. But come on, where exactly do you draw the line between the two? It's pretty blurry.
And that takes us to Section 3, Aggressive Commercialization Strategy.
This brings us to the core of the proposal, a massive shift toward a purely commercial strategy for international football. The end goal here is to take existing competitions and extract absolute maximum revenue from them. And a crucial point is comparing this to the European Super League. Now, don't get me wrong, they are fundamentally different models. The Super League was all about exclusive elite club control, while FIFA Forward is about commercializing existing international tournaments. But wow, there are striking similarities. Both are American-backed projects. Who financed the Super League? JP Morgan. And who is reportedly involved in structuring this FIFA project? You guessed it, JP Morgan again. The driving force is exactly the same, maximizing revenue.
Think of this as the ultimate commercial playbook. Investors are going to start asking logical business questions, right? Like, why hold a World Cup every 4 years? Fans love it. Let's do it every 2 or 3 years. Or they could integrate betting directly into the platform, demanding a cut of every single wager placed on the tournament. They could launch dedicated annual World Cup video games. They could completely revamp youth tournaments by signing exclusive broadcasting deals with TikTok or Twitch to capture that younger demographic. Or, hey, instead of a traditional voting process for host nations, maybe they just give it to whoever wires $1 billion up front.
You see, from a pure business perspective, the global game is viewed as wildly under-commercialized, especially when you compare it to things like American fantasy sports. I mean, some US fantasy football platforms generate more revenue than entire professional leagues in other countries.
It's crazy.
Investors look at this beautiful game, the ball, the stadiums, the millions of passionate fans, and they just want to extract maximum value from every single match and every single ball kicked.
As one headline brilliantly noted after the last World Cup, America will never abandon football again. The United States has fully realized the immense soft power of international football. Just think about how a World Cup completely shapes the global perception of a host nation. America doesn't want to just participate anymore. Through projects exactly like this one, backed by massive American financial interests, they want to lead.
Let's look at Section 4. Who controls the vote?
To figure out if this game-changing deal will actually pass, we have to look at the internal political mechanics of global football. Inside FIFA, every single member association gets exactly one vote. It literally does not matter if you are a massive European footballing powerhouse generating billions of dollars or a tiny island nation that has never even come close to qualifying for a tournament. One association, one vote. That's it.
So the future of football basically comes down to a geopolitical heat map. When Infantino promises that this $4 billion will trickle down, well, $20 or $30 million could completely transform the sport in a smaller nation. Because of this, regions like Africa, North America, Asia, and Oceania are heavily expected to support the deal. They really need those funds. Meanwhile, Europe, which generates most of the tournament's actual value and prestige, is deeply divided and terrified of losing control. But do the math. Infantino doesn't actually need the European giants to win the vote. He just needs the smaller associations.
Finally, Section 5. Is football finished?
So, we arrive at the ultimate question. Does this mean the end of football as we know it? Is the beautiful game finished? Well, the true existential dread for traditional fans isn't really the presence of money itself. The fear is that the actual soul of the game is going to shift. Fans are terrified that scheduling, hosting rights, and maybe even the rules of the game won't be decided by what is best for the sport, the players, or us fans. Instead, they'll be decided by what maximizes profit margins for a group of private investors. When money becomes the absolute dominant factor, conspiracy theories naturally emerge, and trust in the sporting merit of the game just starts to evaporate.
The real stakes here go way beyond a boardroom squabble between Infantino and UEFA. It is a massive geopolitical standoff. Honestly, the fate of this deal likely won't even be decided by football executives, but by governments. Will the UK, France, or Germany step in to block it, just like they did with the Super League? If they do, they'd be going up against massive US financial interests. But here's the kicker. If European governments do intervene and pull out, the deal completely dies. A World Cup without the major European nations loses 70 to 80% of its sporting prestige, making it a terrible investment. So the real decisions here, they're going to be made in government offices, not on the pitch. I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to take away from this explainer today. From a purely business perspective, this commercialization strategy makes perfect logical sense. The World Cup is a massive, under-monetized asset. But what hidden details and clauses exist in those contracts that we haven't seen yet? What single sentence, buried deep on page 50, might ultimately change the beautiful game forever? Think about that the next time you sit down to watch a match. Thanks for joining me for this breakdown. Keep learning and keep asking the big questions.